My apologies for the late start. We had a meeting prior to this one that went right up to 7 o'clock, and we had to reset everything here and get some clarification on staff. So my apologies as chair. So welcome to the Town of Aurora's Committee of Adjustment meeting. I will start by introducing the members of the committee and staff. I am this evening's chair. Our Chair Grace is away, unfortunately, this evening, so as Vice Chair, I'll be chairing this evening. My name is Tom Plamondon, and the remaining members are as follows. To my extreme left, David Mango. Right next to me on my left, Roy Harrington, and on my right, Hank Gossard. The Secretary-Treasurer is Antonio Greco, and the planner is Matthew Peverini. And the Manager of Development Planning is Lawrence Cook. For each application that will be considered tonight, the following process will occur. I will briefly outline the purpose of the application or applications, and then the applicant or agent will be given the opportunity to make a presentation. However, one is not required. It is the applicant's decision whether they wish to speak or let the application proceed on the merits of the information as received. Following any initial comments from the applicant, I will invite members of the public who have an interest in the application to come forward and address the committee. Those members of the public who wish to speak must clearly state their name and address and sign the corresponding request for notice form on the table which is in front of you on your right. After completing the form, please hand it to the Secretary-Treasurer. Each individual may speak only once on an issue, and once discussion has commenced in respect of a motion, no further presentations shall be made. If you wish any assistance with regard to visual material or technical assistance, just let me know before making any presentation. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded. Your name, address, comments, and other personal information are being recording according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. There's a mouthful for you. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including on the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk. Please be advised that the reports being considered tonight are available on the desk again in front of us. Should you wish to receive notification of any of the decisions for tonight's meeting, please complete the appropriate form that is there. Owners and agents will automatically be notified. Please ensure that all questions and or comments are directed through me as the chair. And if relevant, I will request the appropriate person respond. It should be noted that the application will be given the opportunity to respond to any questions or comments the committee feel that it is appropriate. So, tonight's meeting will now commence. And I will look to the committee for a mover and a second to approve the agenda.
Motion put forward to approve the agenda.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Carried. Now, if I can find my agenda, I'll be in good shape. Okay. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none? Thank you. And I'll look to the committee to confirm the minutes of the last meeting. Moved by David, seconded by Roy. All in favor? And that carries. Okay. So we'll now move to the presentation of the applications. So the first one this evening is a minor variance application MV 2018-23. This is Fluffy Puppies at 14799 Yonge Street. So the purpose of the application is to permit overnight accommodation within the pet services permitted use for that property. Departments and agencies that have been circulated include the Planning Division, Application reviewed, no comments. Building Division, no comments. Engineering Division, the application was reviewed, no comments. Operational Services, application reviewed, no comments. Central York Fire Services, no comments were received. Electric Utilities, the application was reviewed and no comments. York Region, the application was reviewed and again, no comments. So I'll ask for the applicant or agent to come forward, please, sir. If you can identify yourself and if you have any presentation you would like to make or any comments that you would like to provide the committee, please go right ahead. Welcome.
Excuse me. Good evening. Jason Jenkins, owner of Fluffy Puppies. And just keep this short and sweet. In summary, this is just an add-on service to our existing facilities. No new infrastructure needs to be built. We have existing soundproofing between us and our adjacent tenant. And we, excuse me, and we have the actual prime real estate for this type of service because there's no residential neighborhoods around us. All the other local businesses closed prior to us. And again, this is just an add-on service which is going to be a great benefit to the community without any negative impact. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mr. Jenkins. So I'll ask if there is anyone here from the public that wishes to speak to this application. I'm assuming that we've got 3 applications and 3 people coming forward, so that's terrific. So I'll look to members of the committee for any questions or comments. Hank, we'll start with you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair. A question about the 24-hour service. So if you're going to provide this service so you can board, it's dogs we're talking about here, correct? What does that mean? That, like, the animals would be brought there, left for the night? Is there anybody who has to be there during the night with these animals?
No, just like a typical veterinarian service.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. Just like a typical veterinarian office that does this as well, we would have camera surveillance in case there's any dogs in distress. We only live a short drive away from the store, so that they will be monitored, but no person will be on premise. Only should there be a need. And our operating hours are typically 7 in the morning to 7 at night. And so at 7 at night, we would be letting the dogs out. We have a fenced-in, enclosed, secured area for the dogs outside. So it works out really well. So we could let the puppies out one more time, and then come back over towards the evening, let them out another time, and then 7 o'clock in the morning, we open the store, and they're back in our doggy daycare, which we already have on site facility.
Just a follow-up question. How many dogs do you think would be there overnight compared to your daytime attendance?
Well, our daytime attendance right now, I mean, it varies. We may only have 2 dogs in our doggy daycare throughout the day, or it could be as many. We've had as many as 12 dogs. We're growing, and there's a demand for the overnight boarding as well. Again, it really would fluctuate between maybe 1 dog, most of the time 0 dogs, but on occasion there would be a few dogs, 6 dogs. It's hard to say, but we would eventually have to have a cap on that just for the dog's safety. We would probably have to limit the dogs to 20. And we're a small dog only daycare, so we're talking about each dog would be 30 pounds or less. Little toy dogs. Thanks.
David or Roy?
Just a comment, I'm impressed that no neighbor complained, so you must be running a good show down there, quiet. Thank you.
David?
No, I don't. Any questions? Any
Just, Mr. Jenkins, out of curiosity again, can you repeat the hours that you operate?
So right now, throughout the week, we're open 7 in the morning to 7 at night, and that's because we have a doggy daycare, so there's a lot of working families who are getting on the GO train heading downtown. They have to get to work, so we're open bright and early for that service, and weekend hours, we're open 9 to 5 and closed on Sundays, but then in that case, we would be having a staff member go over to the store. Because we have a retail component as well. So we have a doggy daycare, a grooming component, and a retail
So
component.
you're seeing where I'm going with this, because, so if you're open on Saturday, abbreviated hours, someone would then on Saturday evening have to come back in around 7 o'clock, let the dogs out.
Yep, absolutely. And of
And-
course, the dog's safety and welfare are our number one concern. So that's what we would be doing as owners of the facility is heading over there and taking care of the dogs.
And on Sunday?
Pardon me?
And on Sunday, what would you be doing?
The same thing. We would be going over there ourselves and staffing the store during the regular business or we wouldn't be officially open necessarily, but we would have staff on premise.
And you mentioned up to 20?
Well, that's
Is that your own cap that you're thinking?
That's our own cap. We're thinking 20 at the very most, and right now we would only be handling a few dogs at a time right now. But as the business grows, we presume that we will be getting busier, and eventually we will have to put a cap on it.
And housing the dogs in a boarding situation, I'm going to assume that you would probably be bringing in crates?
Absolutely, and that's exactly what we do today in terms of when dogs are coming in for grooming services. They're usually having to be left in a crate when they're being dried, and I won't go into the details, I guess, but most of these dogs are not unfamiliar with being crated. And that's exactly what happens in a veterinarian service. When you bring your dog into the vet and they have to stay for a few days for surgery, they're in a crate, and that's the safest spot for them.
Yeah, I was just curious because I did pop in. Your staff probably told you this afternoon. I had a look, and I was sort of curious as to whereabouts in the premises you would be putting crates, and they indicated there was an alcove in the back, and I looked at it and I thought, oh, well, your electrical panel is right there. If you're stacking 5 or 6 of these things high, you're going to be, and I noticed that Central York Fire Services, no comments were received. I don't know if there wasn't a floor plan or anything, attached, so they wouldn't have thought, okay, well, are we blocking an exit or where this is all going to go? But
No, you're absolutely right. And as a civil engineer, I think the staff was misinformed of that little alcove by the electrical panel. There's actually an area on the other side, or if you're looking at the electrical panel, it's actually on the side of the wall that's next to our washroom facility.
yeah, you've got a kitchen there, and
Yeah, the kitchen's off to the side.
right.
And I'm talking about the area before the kitchen. There's actually
okay.
a wall. And so we're actually thinking about using that space or doubling up on one of our grooming rooms. We have 2 grooming rooms right now, and one room has like a wash tub and all that, and that area is nice and secure and safe, quiet, and that actually would be... So the thing about the crates is that we can move them around. There's flexibility.
Right.
So, but you're absolutely right. As a civil engineer, I wouldn't do anything to block the electrical panel. That would be irresponsible.
You've answered all of my questions. Thank you very much. And your staff, by the way, were very friendly today, so
Thank you for the feedback.
you're welcome. Any other questions or comments? So I'll look to the committee for a motion or recommendation. Hank, please, go ahead.
I put forward a motion to approve minor variance application MV 218-23 Fluffy Puppies at 14799 Yonge Street.
And there are no conditions. Seconder? David, all in favor? That carries, sir. Thank you very much. Okay. The next application that we have before us is a minor variance application for St. Andrew's College at 15858 Yonge Street. File number MV 2018-17A through D. I'll just For the benefit of the applicant, I'm going to make a few changes as I read them and advise members of the committee that there are some changes here, so please note as I read through this the changes that for clarity. This is to permit 2018-24A is to permit a reduced minimum northerly, not westerly, northerly interior side yard setback for the proposed two-story. It is an addition and attached garage to 0.8 meters, thereby requiring a variance of 8.20 meters. Purpose of application MV 2018-24B is to permit an eaves projection of 8.55 meters into the required northerly side yard, thereby requiring a variance of 7.85 meters. Purpose of application MV 2018-24C is to permit a reduced minimum front yard for the proposed two-story addition and attached garage to 4.35 meters, thereby requiring a variance of 10.65 meters. Purpose of application MV 2018-24D is to permit an eaves projection of 14.55 meters into the required easterly interior side yard, thereby requiring a variance of 13.85 meters. Departments and agencies circulated. Planning Division, application reviewed, no comments. Building Division, no comments. Engineering Division, no comments, subject to conditions. Operational Services, no comments, subject to conditions. Central York Fire Services, no comments were received. Electric Utilities, York Region, application reviewed, no comments. And Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, no comments, but subject to conditions. Applicant or agent, good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Nice to see you.
Nice to be seen. I am the agent for St. Andrews College. Honorable committee chairman, esteemed committee members, secretary treasurer, and Mr. Planner.
Just identify yourself, please, just for the record.
My name is Jordan Colm of 85 George Street in Aurora. I am an acting volunteer agent for St. Andrews College, so go easy on me. As well, I'm a parent of two 14 and 15-year-old boys who have attended the school for the past 6 years. Many of you may know me already as I'm a custom home builder here in town and have been in front of the committee prior to this evening, of course. So let me start. The purpose of our minor variance request is twofold. One, if Antonio, if I could place that picture and just kind of right there.
Just sideways, guys, please.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
Thank you. That's good. There. Okay. Firstly, we are endeavoring to create a well-manicured presence for the school on what we at St. Andrews refer to as the gate property at 15858 Yonge Street. This current picture that you see before you on the overhead is a view from the east side of Yonge Street near McAlpine Ford, across from the gates, the main gates of the school. Secondly, the addition and renovation of the property would provide a much-needed teacher residence, which is demonstrated in this picture here. It's also the same view, and is a development plan that, well, in development, but it's somewhat close to what we would like to achieve. Prior to our submission for minor variance, we did a little homework by meeting with the Historical Committee on February 12th, 2018, to understand their position. Prior to the meeting, I met on-site actually with Jeff Healy and the Historical Committee member to review the current structure and to ascertain whether or not the build had any significant historical significance, rather, and either architecturally or historically, sorry. After the meeting with the committee, it was determined that the building had little to no significant historical value in either category. Subsequently, we have little objection from the Historical Committee. It is my understanding that their condition would be to oversee the architectural aesthetic of the proposed design, which we are certainly amenable to. We also met with the Honorable Mayor and members of the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority to obtain their opinion of the design build. We reviewed our design with Rob Baldwin. Rob is the General Manager of Planning and Development for the LSRCA. I'm sure you guys know him well. Rob was very helpful for us in outlining the conditions that the LSRCA would impose on the build. From this conversation, it was determined that a natural heritage assessment and a tree preservation plan would be necessary. We engaged Ian Rule of GeoProcess to prepare a report for us. Unfortunately, we did not receive that report in time for council to review its contents, or committee to review its contents, sorry. Although we did provide the assessment to Anthony a few days ago. I'm sure did you circulate it? No, okay. I have it here. So essentially, the conclusion of the assessment, which I guess I can throw here. The conclusion of this assessment, and I can read from it, if you can hear me, based on the review of the existing conditions of the property, there are no natural heritage constraints to the proposed plan. So we felt that was important to make that assertion, and it worked out in our favor. The conclusions of this assessment demonstrate that the renovation and addition has little impact, of course, on the environment. Other than any potential objections or concerns from the public, I would like to let the application for the minor variance rest on the information provided this evening to council. I'd like to mention as well that the property to the north is actually owned by the town and is part of the trail system, so there's no immediate neighbor to that particular property or abutting the particular property. So, thank you.
That's so that's your presentation
Yes.
in its entirety.
The way you say that makes me concerned, Tom.
No, don't worry.
Okay, that's our
We
presentation.
actually, before the meeting, I'll just say this, that we needed to review the wording on what some of these, where some of these variances were occurring, because the report that we got was a little inconsistent. So apologize for the delay. That was part of it, and our overrun on the last meeting. So, okay, if you want to grab a seat there for a moment. I do have to ask if there is anyone here from the public who wishes to speak to these applications. And seeing none, I will look to members of the committee if they have any questions, and I'll start with Hank. And Jordan, I think you're going to probably have to come back up to the mic, because I think we're going to be asking a few questions. So go ahead, Hank.
Okay, thanks very much, Jordan. I appreciate the presentation. I'll start by asking you to verify the last comment you made, which is that the town owns the property to the north. Is that what you said? Correct. All of that property, or just a sliver of land?
I can't speak exactly to what the actual dimensions of the property are. I believe it, Beth could probably speak better to it, but or Scott, but I believe it's a sliver that allows trail access to a trail system in behind St. Andrews.
Okay. But do you own the property at the corner of Yonge and St. John's as well?
The school does, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's focus in on this particular application. So the first question relates to the fact that I hear the comment that you're going to demolish the existing house.
Sorry, that's not correct.
Okay, please elaborate.
We were going to renovate and add an addition to the existing house. I don't know, where did you, did I say demolish?
I've
Where did you read that?
I've read that in several.
Okay, hold on. Hey, hold on,
It might
hold
be
on.
on the site plan. I believe I met with Melissa in the building department. We changed the site plan that we had.
So
The architect made a mistake.
Can we put the site plan on the overhead, please?
We can. Beth, do you have a more clear copy?
Or if there's a
Unfortunately, the one
clear
I
copy,
printed-
because I think we're going to spend a little bit of time on that. And
Sure.
let's understand. And I think, Hank, you're just saying what is being taken down and what isn't, because your elevations show basically a new building everywhere.
So the shaded area here, you guys can see it, that is the existing structure. We are going to maintain that structure. We're going to put an addition on the back, and then a breezeway, and an attached garage. So the structure itself would remain, we would just remove the roof.
Re-insulate it, because I believe it was built 50 odd years ago. There's not really much insulation in it. Unfortunately, the building's fallen in. The previous owner didn't maintain the building, so it's in a major state of disrepair, and I'm sure if committee members went to see the building, they would deem it uninhabitable. It's in really rough shape.
Okay, so let's focus in on absolute clarity here.
Sure.
So what you're doing is you're taking the roof off the existing building
Correct.
and you're moving up from there
Correct.
to put a second story on,
Correct.
plus doing a two-story addition out the back.
Correct.
Okay, you're doing the breezeway to the south with the garage at the end of the breezeway.
Yes.
Okay, all right, good, I've got that.
Okay.
Okay, so now I really come into focus in terms of your application. So you're looking for a reduced minimum northerly interior side yard setback. So in other words, the long way
Correct.
to the north.
Correct.
So
Which
you're,
would
you're
be here. This.
Right. So you're looking for a variance, which suggests to me that the existing house is not compliant with the bylaws.
That's correct.
Is that a correct statement?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's a good point of clarification. So, and you're asking for a substantial variance here because you're asking for 8.2 meters, which in my language of the other system is big.
Mm-hmm.
You're also asking for an eaves projection in the same direction on the north side. Then looking at it on the Yonge Street side, and that's where the other variance is, it would appear again that the house is non-compliant in terms of the bylaw because you're asking for a substantial setback compared to what's permitted, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So it's the existing house which you're trying to build on, which is not in compliance to the north or the east.
Correct.
And you're looking to basically resolve a non-compliant situation by using the existing structure to start from.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's it for the moment. Thanks.
Okay. This was part of the discussion. I'll just say that
Right.
this was part of the discussion that we had before the meeting, because I think what is throwing some of us off when you look at something like this, and maybe it was in one of the staff comments, building to be demolished. Normally, you take it right down, foundation disappears, the whole nine
Right.
yards. And that is not the case.
Correct. Unfortunately, that nomenclature was wrong.
Right. So that's why we're trying to get our heads wrapped around that part
I
of it.
thought that Melissa and I corrected that, and unfortunately, I guess somehow you received a copy that didn't have that correction in it.
Okay.
So-
I'm going to let other members of the committee then carry on. David?
Okay, thank you. Through the chair, actually, thank you, Han, for asking those questions for clarity. Especially the fact that now it's very clear. Actually, see from your the application that it's actually an existing house with the existing setbacks, which are non-compliant, and with the current bylaws. So that's very good. Just for the sake of the committee and everybody in terms of the mix-up, I just want to even myself, I was confused, but I saw, if you look at this one here, why it was if you look at this here, the not to be demolished was not clear, but it's indicated there. Okay, if you see this note here, so you put NOT was not very clear to the members, but yeah, it's labeled there not to be demolished. So that's why, there was that confusion.
Certainly, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But anyway, it's now very clear. I have a few comments, basically just for confirmation from you. For the TRCA, the condition number 3 from Lake Singo Conservation Authority is asking for a scoped environmental impact study. And I believe you were provided the terms of reference. Are you aware of the terms of reference? And would you be able to satisfy the conditions from the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority?
I believe, yes, we will be able to satisfy those conditions without issue.
Okay. I think in the 3C, condition C, I would say maybe there's a typo there. It says C, then 3 dot. Maybe there's a typo there. Maybe staff, Can you confirm? After C,
So on page 3 of the staff report,
the 3 sort of.
You go A,
maybe
B,
it's a
C, and-
typo. 3 needs to be removed.
Through the chair, yes, it's a typo.
thank you.
Okay. I think that's what I have at the moment.
Okay. Roy? Just pull the mic.
Jordan, how did you make out with the building department? Anything we should know, or?
We talked about the eave projection, and it was determined that the eave projection over the actual stem wall of the building would be 0.45 meters. That's what currently exists. So we would maintain that, and we wouldn't project any further than the current building that exists.
And,
Other than that, everything seemed quite compliant, other than our request for the minor variance for the front and side yard setbacks.
so a permit from them shouldn't be too hard to get?
No, I
If
don't
we
believe
approve
so. If we're approved, I don't believe it'll be
Okay.
difficult to obtain.
Okay, because I used to be an inspector. I'm always curious of what the building department comments are.
Sure.
Thank you.
That was part of our homework, to meet with them and to understand their potential objections. And they didn't really have any other than, of course, requiring a minor variance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Jordan, just a couple of things from my side. Was there any discussion about, I noticed that the driveway, you're leaving the driveway coming off of Yonge Street. Was there any discussion about perhaps closing that and bringing it out onto the driveway, which is signalized? Like that traffic light is right there, and that driveway is right there.
Certainly.
It's been empty, that property's been empty for a long time. Or I don't know how long it's been emptied, but emptied for a period of time. And I do remember cars turning in there ahead of that, coming south, ahead of that traffic light. And it just seems to me that
We did have a discussion. We thought it would be most fruitious for the committee yourself to determine if we need another access. We would like another access off the St. Andrews driveway. It's certainly very possible based on the tree preservation plan as well as the site plan and the elevation. There is I wouldn't call it a dry well, but a runoff area from, I guess, a storm pond across Yonge Street beside McAlpine Ford.
Yeah.
That occasionally fills up, but it could be addressed easily with a culvert. We would obviously look to an engineer to give us a detail on how to address that.
for me
It's a
it
good
was,
point, though.
it was just a safety issue. And
Certainly.
and I think, and so that was number one for me. And I think if that's something that gets pursued, I think it would be a very good idea. I know you'd have to put a culvert in there and what have you. You'd have to break that curb there. But I think it would certainly make access to that property much safer.
I think it would be appealing to the school, Tom, to have that, certainly. We would
Okay.
like to maintain both access, however, the municipal one, which I think from our discussion would not be used, but would be an option for emergency vehicles.
I see. Okay.
That was part of our discussion.
Those gates are normally at St. Andrews. They're normally always open, are they not?
They are always open.
I mean, a fire truck is going to go right through there anyway.
Absolutely.
So, but regardless.
It just seems to be a closer access point for that structure.
Sure. Okay. That was number one. Number two, and I did have a discussion with staff before. So the property itself, as far as its occupancy is concerned, is a single-family dwelling. Looking at the layout of the internal workings of it, if you will, this is intended to be occupied by teachers of St. Andrews. So you're talking about non-related individuals, but you've got a common area, common kitchen, and then it looks like semi-private or private sleeping quarters. Is that how, am I reading that correctly?
I think you're interpreting it correctly. If it's okay, I'd like to deflect to Beth to speak to that more. She was engaged in far more discussion regarding that than myself.
Terrific.
So-
Yeah, thank you. I'm it's not part of your variance, and it's not at odds with the way the municipality sees it, but I'm looking at it, and I'm wondering if you can share some information on that side of it.
Yeah, no, our understanding is that it's a single-family residence right now, and it would be a single-family residence. We have had discussions with the town in terms of the potential for 2 units at a maximum, but we haven't really decided whether we will have just one large house for one family, but not unrelated, like not a rooming house for students or for teachers. So it's single-family or potentially a duplex if we can get approval for that. We do have housing for about 30 staff members on the main campus as well. So typically people live in family situations.
Gotcha. Okay. That helps me, because when I looked at it, looking at the way it was laid out, it could have been more than one family.
And it's very preliminary, the drawings that we have right now. So we kind of wanted to use there's an above ground pool at the back and the main house, which the Conservation Authority said that we could get credit for. The garage they're not too concerned about because it's sort of on level. So we wanted to kind of make as big a building as we could, and then if we have to scale it back for financial reasons or because it's oversized for what we need, then we could do that as well. I just wanted to mention too about the access point. The property is actually held in a different name than the school, so we would have to maintain the access onto Yonge Street if we ever sold the property in the distant future. So
Or create an easement on the driveway, the shared driveway.
we would like to at some point connect the driveway for sure onto the school property, because then the traffic out into the school is just more convenient and so forth. But we wouldn't want to abandon the Yonge Street access.
Understood. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I assume that from a servicing perspective, Jordan, there aren't any issues there. Is it on a well?
It is, it's on.
If you come forward, please.
If I'm correct, it's on municipal sewers, and it's currently on a well.
And
But I checked with engineering, and it doesn't seem that there would be a problem to provide water, obviously, to them.
water, so that's a non-issue. Okay. That answers, thank you, all of my questions and concerns.
Okay.
So I will look to members of the committee for a motion on this application. Question, fire away.
Okay, so I see that there was discussions with the York region with respect to the well water, which I understand is no longer a regional issue. It's now a municipal issue. So Aurora's okay with you having a well to provide water for this building, however many people are going to live in it, correct? I was surprised that York Region did not comment on the Yonge Street right-of-way and the fact that, you know, we're leaving the house where it is, but asking for a variance to bring it, or to legalize it, if you will. And I'm just curious why York Region would not have made any comments. Are you aware that whether they looked at this or not?
Or staff.
Or
I
staff?
can't really speak on their behalf.
Okay.
Hank. I'm sorry, but
Maybe we can get a staff comment on that then.
okay.
Through the chair, can you repeat that question one more time?
Yeah, simply, I was curious why York Region would not address the issue of Yonge Street expansion. That seems to always be a concern, especially as it relates to transit. And of course, we've got all kinds of examples along Yonge Street where we don't have the width for the right-of-way, and yet York Region did not address this issue at all. Do you know of any reason why they wouldn't have addressed this issue?
Through the chair, I'm not certain why they wouldn't. As they are a commenting agency, they are required to provide those comments. However, if you look on that plan there seems to be some kind of right-of-way illustrated on the plan.
Widening plan.
So that may be something that's already been considered. But I'm not able to speak fully to on behalf of York Region.
Yeah, so York Region has reviewed the application with no comments. If I look at the staff report on that, so if they had any, I'm sure they would have brought them forward.
The intention of the school is to provide a welcoming face to the community, and right now that property is somewhat suffocated and in disrepair, and we really wanted to develop that property to provide a welcoming entrance that would include the community rather than the community thinking it's just a privileged school and not understanding what St. Andrews is about. We're very big in the community, and we have a community focus. A lot of children that are at that school are from the community. So in part also we understand that there's going to be a boardwalk development, I believe, from St. John's to mimic what's going on at the Mackenzie Marsh, and we wanted to clean up this front area to help make it a homogeneous look. It's not only the gateway to St. Andrews, but it's also the gateway to the town from the north, from Newmarket. And as you drive in, we wanted that to be a wonderful presence to the school in conjunction with that boardwalk that is apparently been passed through council.
Typically, Jordan, what happens that, and then you're familiar with this, when you're looking at something like this and you're saying to yourself, and I'm sure you've looked at the economics of it, you looked at the costs associated. Is it not easier to demolish, take the foundation out, move the building into more of a compliance with bylaws and regulations than to try and use something that's there that you're, for all intents and purposes, you're probably leaving less than 5% of the total project in what you're saving. And then, of course, in our due diligence of looking at where applications are coming from, you ask yourself, sitting on this committee, where is the hardship? Is there a hardship? If there isn't a hardship, and this could have been shifted, moved, provide as a residence a little bit more separation from a very busy right-of-way, being Yonge Street, and sound and quality of life issues. But having said that, and with the clarity that we did get prior to the meeting and what it is you're doing, it has its merits based on those arguments, and I'm, as chair, I'm just, bringing that forward because that's where a lot of us on this committee come from in our thinking.
To address that point,
We had that discussion in depth with Rob Baldwin. The current position of the house is ideally suited based on the elevation of the property. There is some floodplain in there, and part of our discussion with Rob is, he mentioned that as well. Why just demolish it, let's move on, we'll rezone it, or all kinds of discussions there.
Yeah.
But the actual location is ideal based on the elevations. That's the highest point of the land, and that's why we went back with the addition and to the side with the garage rather than having the habitable space to the side where the garage is and reversing it. We also discussed with Rob that we would do a flood-proof basement, and the basement would be for shelf storage only, and we would not have a habitable space down in the basement. It would just be low headroom. It would be finished. It would be insulated. It would be wrapped from the outside, some sort of flood-proof detail provided by the engineer. So that's really why we applied as using the mechanism of a minor variance to maintain that location, because really there's actually nowhere else on the property to move the building. So it seemed, obviously it's the shortest route to us developing this, because I believe we have some monies donated to us that could go towards this project, and this seemed natural that we pursue it in this fashion through a minor variance.
And it's comments like that that make a difference, because I guess that's why we're here. We're going to ask, or I'm going to ask those kind of questions. And when you provide that kind of detail and that kind of response, it helps justify your position on making the request for those variants. So I thank you for that. So I'm going to go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, can I just ask one more question? So based upon what we've now understand the project to really be, as opposed to what we thought it was, we really, and I think this might be a staff question rather than for you, you won't require a demolition permit at all. You'll be looking only for a building permit to renovate the current structure and expand it, correct?
that is 100%.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about the confusion on that.
The site plan. I could see how that would throw everybody off. I mean, is it
no.
a demolition? Is it a no? It's a renovation and addition.
Again, that's
Sorry.
why these
Yep.
discussions are so important. So
Okay.
if it sounds like we're kind of lost, it's okay, and that's why you're there. All right. So again, I'm going to go to the members of the committee, and I will look for a motion on the applications. David.
Through the chair, can you Okay, thank you. Through the chair, based on the information provided, we have no comments from the region, no concerns within the right of way, and also on your explanation about your meeting with the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority about the location of your building, that you would not really impact on the regraded area. Also, based on your meeting with the town, your explanation to maintain the non-compliance based on the existing bylaw, I move that the 4 applications be approved subject to the conditions as stated in the staff's report, with the maybe one correction of the condition 3C, where it's written a 3 there that could be deleted. Thanks.
The change is a typographic on page 3 in the conditions to remove the numerical reference to the 3 after the C. Oh, thank you. Can I also ask that, David, you also include the wording as I read it
Yes, also,
for each of the variances to ask staff to make those changes on the final version going forward.
yeah.
And am I
So
missing-
basically, the applications MV-208-18-2A and the -B, where the word westerly should be changed to northerly.
Correct. And then 24D should be required easterly interior side yard
Okay, easterly, okay.
for consistency. Have we
So
got them all?
For MV-2018-24D, should read easterly. That is required easterly interior side yard.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Do we? Yes.
Through the chair, it'll be C and D will be easterly.
Yeah, C and D.
Yes.
Thank you. And I will look for a seconder for that.
I'll second that motion.
Seconded by Roy, and we'll call a question. All in favor? That carries. Thank you for your indulgence and your patience. Okay. The next application that we have this evening is a minor variance application for Carvalho at 66 Roth Street, and this is a minor variance 2018-25. Purpose of application MV 2018-25 is to permit the construction of a deck encroaching 6.4 meters into the minimum required rear yard, having a setback of 0.6 meters from the rear property line, thereby requiring a variance of 2.9 meters. Departments and agencies circulated include Planning Division, Application Reviewed, no comments, Building Division, no comments, Engineering Division, no comments, subject to conditions, Operational Services, Application Reviewed, no comments, Central York Fire Services, no comments received, Electric Utilities and York Region application reviewed, and no comments received. Applicant or agent, the last standing, come forward, please. Yes, thank you, and welcome. And sorry for making you wait so long.
No, my pleasure.
Good
Thank
evening.
you so much, gentlemen. Good evening. Yeah, so the purpose of us being here today, as you mentioned, is...
Can you just lift the mic and tell
yeah.
us officially for the record your name, please?
Exactly. Oh, sorry. So my name is Paulo Carvalho, resident at 66 Roth Street.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so what's happened in our property is that we have a water sway on our property that we didn't know when we purchased the property. And what happened is pretty much the current bylaw of not allowing us to encroach like 3.5 meters from the rear fence, that pretty much is almost a half of the size of our backyard. So we apply for this variation so we can build a deck over this way, making sure, of course, the water can still flow. And encroaching 0.62 meters is just going to allow us to have the base for the deck float over the swale. So we are complying with all the requirements from the sides in terms of north and south sides, and it seems that the only concern with the town is really just the rear side of the property.
Okay, I think we have your drawings here, your plans, and okay. So officially, I have to ask: is that your presentation, sir?
Sorry?
Is that?
Yes,
okay.
it is. Yeah.
So you're going to allow the application to move forward on the information that we've received and staff's comments. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If there isn't anyone here from the public that wishes to speak, and I assume that the other person sitting here is somewhat related. All right, terrific, thank you. I will look to members of the committee for comments, questions, and I will start with David.
Okay, I can start. Okay, thank you actually for explaining why the deck goes over. It's because of the pole to hold the deck so that the soil water can go without being blocked. Can you just confirm that that catch basin, you're not going to block that catch basin?
No, the government requires to stay on 1.8 meters from the water basin, so we're going to, of course, respect that.
Okay. At the moment, maybe that's my only question. I'll ask more questions later.
Okay.
Yeah, let me just
Roy, do you have any questions?
I'm still thinking.
You're still thinking? Go ahead, Hank.
Okay, if you don't mind, could we put the schematic of the property on the overhead, please?
The space to ensure blockage. Okay, I think I don't think I have any more questions.
You're looking for the colored one?
Yep.
Yeah, colored one. Is there a colored drawing there? That's it. Thank you, Antonio.
Okay, so looking at the schematic, I'm looking at the whole backyard, and I see the little site that says existing deck. Is that really the existing deck, or is it somewhat smaller than that? Because I don't know. I was there today, and I looked at it, and I'm not sure that that's exactly what it looked like in terms of the steps, but I could be wrong. And then further back in the corner, the catch basin is the little gray circle in the top right corner, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so you're not going to be going over that catch basin at all?
No.
Correct?
That's correct. No.
So the variance relates to the green sliver across the top of this drawing, correct? Okay, so, and I just want to understand this whole schematic. So when I look at this, I see the existing deck, and then off to the left, where I guess those are blue chair schematic, that's not a deck there, that's patio stone there?
No, there's the only thing that we have today is that deck.
I know, but in the schematic here,
Oh, those are stones. I'm sorry.
those are stones?
Those are stone. Yeah.
And then beyond the stones is this floating deck, correct?
That's correct. There will be one step from the deck to the stones.
Right.
The existing deck's 2 steps to the stones.
Okay, 2 steps down to the stone patio, and then 1 step up to the floating deck?
That's correct.
Okay, and then the deck goes across the entire yard except for that gray area to the right, which is not going to have anything in. I guess you may have some grass there, you may not. You might just have plants. And then the pergola is going to sit at the northwesterly corner, I guess, of the property. Is that kind of the way I look at it?
That's northwest.
Northwest, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to understand how that schematic was playing out. Okay.
So again, the pictures that we saw of, or the picture that we saw of the back of your house there, what you're showing here is existing deck is more than what's there today. First of all, the stairs are on the outside, not up against the house. Am I correct in that?
The stairs to the lower part of it is that side, exactly that side. There is just one for the current deck today. Just one set of stairs. Those are steps.
Yeah, no, but are those stairs today up against the house, or are they away from the house?
It's away from the house. Yeah, there is like a.
So that's a change, is it not?
Yeah, I didn't notice that the designer put that close to the house, but it doesn't touch the house, the steps.
Okay, and is the existing deck when I looked at it, the existing deck can't be as big as that. That's almost, what, 8 feet by 8 feet? And the existing deck can't be 8 feet by 8 feet.
No, it's not that much.
No. So that's not all existing. That's going to be expanded, correct?
Well, that's the plan. Yeah.
Okay.
But we're going to use exactly the same height
Right.
from the current. Yeah.
So my question to staff then is, if that becomes an existing deck and it's built on top of, there's some posts there now, and it gets projected, are we going to have a setback problem? Because that won't be floating, that will be permanent, it's on footings and attached to the house. So I guess my question is do we know what the distance where that step goes down to the floating deck to the rear of the property is? And would that be then an issue because it's not floating? Do you guys follow where I'm going here?
Through the chair, are you referring to these steps on the right side of the deck on the drawing on the board?
No. It might be easier if I get up.
If you look at the other drawing, it's
Yeah.
actually showing what you actually are asking. But the color drawing doesn't show the stairs on the right side.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's the updated file with the...
Is that updated? That's updated. So there are two.
Through the chair, sorry to interrupt. Through
No,
the chair, both site plans were circulated with the preliminary zoning, so we received both the colored and the black and white version of it. The black and white version was handed into the building department 2 weeks after the preliminary zoning originally was handed in. So the dates are stamped both July 20th, but they were handed in at 2 different times. It was just with talks with the building department and the applicant.
Okay, so if you leave that up, it might, my question, I guess I can ask the question then, are both sets of stairs going to be there?
Yeah, sorry.
So you've got a set of stairs going into the side yard?
That's correct, which we're planning to keep exactly the same height for the existing deck.
Now, my question to staff then, just leaving that up, do you see where it says deck height 30 inches and then deck height 23 inches? So that outer limit, I'm assuming, or I'm asking the applicant and staff, that portion of the deck is one level, it's a square structure. It would be on top of permanent footings in the ground. There's posts there, making it part of the house. It's not floating then. It's lagged into the foundation. It's on top of posts. From the point where it says deck height 23 inches to the rear of the property, would they then have a setback issue or not? Because I would think that the setback would then have to be measured from the northerlymost part of that particular part of the structure. Hank has already determined that the rectangular large piece is floating. The square piece is not floating. It's supported by the posts and by the house. So I don't know whether we have a setback issue there.
Through the chair, these were the drawings that were circulated for preliminary zoning. So all of this would have been considered through the zoning review. Okay. Having said that, what is before committee today in terms of relief caught or relief needed is before committee.
Okay. Do you see my concern, sir? If that was missed, you end up coming back to this committee for another variance because you will Are permits, question to staff, are permits required for the deck, the floating deck, the pergola? Do we know?
Through the chair, the floating deck wouldn't have required a building permit if there was no variance. The reason the floating deck is under 2 feet, and under our zoning bylaw, a deck that is under 2 feet doesn't require a permit. However, he's in need of a variance in the rear yard. Therefore, he would have to present himself as he is today at Committee of Adjustment.
Okay, his deck height at the rear, at the north end, is 47 inches above.
Through the chair, the deck doesn't need a building permit.
Right.
As
a floating deck.
See.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, just because I was there when the contractor measured with his laser, just because we have water sways also going on the sides of the backyard. So the current deck, I took the time to measure, the height is a little bit shy of 2 feet. And but when he put all his laser or whatever equipment on the sway, it was kind of pretty much was taken from a lower point, the measurement. That's the same, our backyard has a slope. So as we go floating, we see the height increasing to the back.
I guess the only other question that I was going to ask is this one, because the height that you're getting to there, in my estimation, is as much an issue as the setback reduction. Not so much for any other reason than my neighbors. And have you spoken to your neighbors about the variance? Have they said anything to you, or have you said anything to them? And are they aware of your plans to do this if this is approved?
Yeah. So on the south side, yes. In fact, the north side, yeah. But because the other side is empty, the houses are just being sold. So there is no occupant at this point.
Right. Okay. Well, you've answered all of my questions. Unless anyone else has anything further, I know we kind of kept things in reserve here. Oh, Hank, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Let's go back again to these elevations. So looking off the existing deck, you have a step which is going the side, so you're going to have 2 steps down. To the back, you're having 1 step down.
That's correct.
And then from the patio area, you're having 1 step up. This is, I understand, a 2-foot floating deck.
2 foot, I'm sorry, the fixed part is 2 foot.
The floating deck is about...
It's going to be like 7 inches lower than the existing deck.
Oh, right. just 7 inches lower?
Yeah, which is the kind of standard size for one step.
How many inches, or is it then? The deck height is 47 inches.
At the back.
Which is almost 2 feet.
Oh, but that is because of the slope. My backyard has like a slope going towards
more than 3 feet.
This way.
At the back.
It's more than 3 feet?
47 inches, yeah. 36 inches.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay. So I'm thinking about this now. So at the back, you've got a chain link fence.
I do. Yeah, we do.
Which is
almost the same height as your deck.
Is almost the same height as this deck.
Yep.
No, it's not.
It will be. It will be.
Well, the deck is going to be...
You just told me that that back deck height is 47 inches. So if
It's on your drawing.
It's on your drawing.
Yeah. I know what you're going to say.
Okay. And if the chain link fence, I think it's a 48-inch chain link fence.
It is like really high. It's
5 feet.
Higher than my usual, my previous house for sure. But the fence is on this way you start going up.
Yeah.
So the measurement was taken here, and the fence it is.
Okay, so
on the height
let's
of
put
the
it down to
sway.
60. It's 60 inches then. All I'm saying is the elevation of your deck is, for argument's sake, 4 feet, and your fence is, or 48 inches roughly, and it's 60 inches. So you're going to have a differential about that much from where your deck comes up against that fence. Which, in other words, I could easily I don't know what you're planning to do at the back, whether you're going to have a railing or what, for safety reasons, but it seems to me, most of us, even
They have
me, as a senior, I could easily jump over that fence and get into the schoolyard.
Yeah. As I mentioned, I'm sorry to interrupt. The height of the deck is going to be 43. I'm sorry, you can see. But from the bottom of the swale, the fence is right up here. So the deck is going to be level, but the fence is still going to be higher.
Not much.
I don't know if you're forgetting, but our swale is really probably a foot deep. So that's where the contractor, he make the measurement, more aligned with the basin, which is at the bottom of the swale, the catch basin. So that measurement is from the bottom of the swale, where the back fence is right up here. So that's our backyard. So the deck is going to go like here. So probably you won't even going to be a foot from the base of the fence.
So you're going to be about 2 feet from the fence with your floating deck, correct?
In terms of height?
0.6 meter, no.
0.6 meter, yes.
0.6 is roughly.
Yes,
roughly
yeah.
2 feet.
But in terms of height, no, it's not going to be as high as the height compared to the fence. Just because the base of the fence is on the top of the swale. And then he put the measure like here. This is where he measured the deck, so to make sure that everybody can visualize that the water is still going to flow, and that's going to be in comparison with the catch base.
Well, I mean, my personal comment is you know, I appreciate what you're doing here, but it seems to me that we'd be setting a precedent if we are approving this, because if one person does it, other people may want to do it, and we would be seriously encroaching into the swale, because you're already going to cover up most of the swale with the decking. The only thing that's being left open is the catch basin, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
But we're still definitely going to have access to the swale from the, if anything has to be done in terms of, we're still going to have access after the deck for that space.
Yeah, well, they're going to have access, but I mean, if there ever has to be any digging, they're going to have to go under your deck, right?
Or take the deck down.
Or take the deck down. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I will look to the committee for a motion on the application. We can go one of a number of ways on this. We can approve it. We can make changes to the amount of setback reduction. We can deny the application.
Through the, I want to propose a motion.
Please do.
Okay. Considering your clarification, I move that the application be approved, subject to conditions as in the staff's report. Thanks.
So there are conditions. Have you read the conditions, or are you satisfied that those conditions are acceptable to you?
The conditions that we were told that we have to have a professional engineer to issue a letter just confirming that the deck is not going to affect the grading. So we already look into this.
Okay.
Grading and drainage.
And drainage, correct? Okay.
Exactly, that's correct.
Something about encroachment. B is about the no encroachment within 1.8 meters wide. So my proposal for approval is that you're going to meet these conditions in the staff's report.
We have to add that into, okay, perfect.
Is there a seconder for that motion? I do not see a seconder for that motion.
I'll second it. That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have a seconder for that motion. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Against? That carries. So that's approved. Thank you. That concludes the applications for this evening. I'll ask members, is there any new business for discussion? Any updates from staff? Nothing?
I have questions.
Sure.
Not really the applications, but coming from our last meeting, when we met with you and the Marco, there was question about you're going to come back to us about dealing with the Committee of Adjustment in terms of the number of years to save. There was an argument about maybe 2, the other one was no limit, so we wanted some clarification.
Yeah, did we get anything on that, Antonio?
Through the chair, I have confirmed with clerks on the terms of reference. The way the town of Aurora moves forward with the terms of reference is they are allowed 2 terms of 4 years. So the terms for the term year of this upcoming 4 years would be 2014 to 2018, which would be considered as 1 term. After 2018, there would be another 4-year period, which would allow for another term. So you are allowed to do 2 4-year terms.
In succession.
That's correct, yes, in succession.
So total of 8
years in total.
8 years in a row. So for some of us, we can, after the election and new council is brought in.
Yeah, the people worried was him and me, because he was now to be 80 years.
So if we want to apply again, it takes council's permission to do that, right, Tony?
Committee members are to stay on until waived off until new approval of committee members. However, if you have done your 8-year in succession, then the only way that it could be moved forward with is that council waived the 8 years and you guys could stay on again.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys are okay?
Special waiver for you and Roy.
For you and
Grace.
And Grace. That's what would be required. You would be fine,
Yeah.
Hank,
You broke yours.
because you have a gap in there that would allow you to continue to
Did Grace
sit
say
on the
she wasn't
committee.
coming back?
The-
She's thinking about it, yeah.
Yeah, we're not sure.
Yeah.
Anything else under new business? Roy? Henderson.
Henderson.
I think we know the answer to that, but my understanding was that Marco had indicated that they were going back with a requirement for that application to do a very detailed tree study, and that it, in all likelihood, wouldn't be coming back until the new year. And I don't think that has changed status, has it?
Through the chair, yeah, we have asked the applicant to provide a detailed full tree inventory. A date for the Committee of Adjustment hasn't been placed until we receive all submissions. Then a formal application will be placed with the Planning Department. It will be sometime in the new year. We have public inquiring about it, thinking that it would come to committee before the end of 2018, but it won't be until the beginning of 2019.
Perfect. Anything else? I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Hank, motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, fellas, for